hopefully you can see that. That is me, Claire Berry-Louise, Internet Business School coach. I've worked for Simon for some years. If you've never met me before, this is me. And I used to be a solicitor, and then I actually went on an in-person event with Simon for 3 days, changed my life completely. And I'm still here now. I focus very much on building communities. I've got my own community called Like-Hearted Leaders. And we just created a book, actually, a really cool book, sharing the stories of leaders and having authentic conversations in business. So that's a really amazing thing that I do. I've consulted for global businesses, worked with Facebook because I was involved with community building before it seemed to be cool. Now people talk about community building, but before that, so Facebook changed their whole business model. I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, they changed their mission statement and made it all about community building. And so they needed to learn from people like me about how to build community. So I've done quite a few things. So I can definitely be a testament to the fact that if you go to these events and meet people and take the action, you can do amazing things and have a life that's really much more fulfilling. So I've cut myself off, but this is me at the bottom speaking at one of Simon's events. This is my community, Like-Hearted Leaders. There is Simon, looking younger, and so am I back in the day. Yes, I've got a podcast, and this is speaking at the last, this is me actually speaking at the last digital business boot camp. That's like a tongue twist, isn't it? So that's a bit about me if you don't know about me. So I'm going to talk today about setting up a website for your online coaching business. So if you don't have a website, let me know. And if you do have a website, let me know how you host your website. So put that in the chat so I know what everybody's doing in here so I can talk to you about it. So let me know, do you have a website or do you not have a website? And if you do have one, let me know how you host it. So having a website has got an important, so HostGator, yeah, when I say host, I meant, is it on WordPress or is it on Kajabi, or is it on Squarespace maybe, or there's lots of different ones. Let me know that. Thank you, Edward. HostGator is a good hosting thing. Hello, Leon, nice to see you. WordPress all day, every day. You like WordPress? Excellent. Oh, lots of you on WordPress. WordPress is brilliant for SEO. Yeah, so let me know. That's good. Let's see. No, you haven't got one, Nico. So you might learn some stuff from here. I'm with Go High Level. I've not heard of Go High Level. Why did you choose them, Tracy? Let me know. So if you've got a website, you want to use it as a way to establish what your client is looking to attain. So sometimes websites can be too full of information. I definitely learned this over time, that less is often more. And if you have less written on a web page, people can get to the bits that they need to action easier. Because if you put too much text on there, then people will lose interest and people will click on. So for example, if you have a website, it takes a long time to load, people will click away before it's even loaded. So it's something ridiculous, a few seconds until people lose interest and go on to the next thing. So when someone comes to your website, you want to have a really good heading right at the top saying exactly what you want people to do. Glenn's using System.io. I think Simon was talking about that a few months ago, actually. HostGator and GoDaddy. And are you on WordPress then, Tim? I guess you are. I think you said that probably. And when people are coming to work with you and coming and looking at your website, people really need to know you need to have things really set out clearly. So say you're going to, if you're a weight loss expert, you are going to be talking about weight loss when people come to your website, and you can say this will happen in 6 weeks. You will lose 3 stone in 6 weeks. And it's a really clear and measurable outcome. And so people are really clear on what they're getting, because if there's no clarity in what people are going to achieve, if they come to your website and engage your services, again, they will start looking elsewhere. And like I just said, you need to have a time frame in there, because people need time frames so they can contextualize it in their life, they can set it out. Whereas if there's no time frame, it's much harder for people to see why the benefits of working with you, because ultimately people want to feel like they're in a process, and they want to feel like they can come along, they can engage your services, and by the end of it, so if you're a website builder, if you get your website built in 2 months or in 6 weeks, and then it's straight away, it feels exciting to the person looking, because they have a problem, they don't have a website. They see that if they engage your website services, within 6 weeks, they could have a fully functioning website, and that makes them want to take action. Okay, how do I do? What do I do? What's the next step? So that's really important when you are thinking about taking on clients or engaging people and setting up your website. So some of the things you need to think about. So what are your domain names? Let me know in the comments. So you need to have a good domain name. So it's really good practice if you can get your own name. Get hold of that. So I've bought my children's names, for example, so they obviously don't need them, or not obviously, but they're not using them yet, but I have got them already. So if you have children, maybe you can buy the domain name already. And then if you've got a business name, you want to see if you can secure your business name as well, so nobody else gets it. And then you might want to get the different variations, so .com or .co.uk, .co, all those different ones. So make sure you secure your digital presence. So you also want to do this in terms of your social media profiles as well. So if you're on this call today and you don't use LinkedIn, or maybe you don't use LinkedIn's not quite as, because on LinkedIn you can change your you can have a personalized URL on there, so it will go to you, so you can change it. So rather than being a series of numbers, you can change it, so it'd be, my LinkedIn is LinkedIn.com/ I think it's LN or something like that, and then it's Claire Perry Louise, so you can change that on there. But if you're going to set up Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, any of those things, you want to see if you can secure your actual name on there, even if you're not using that social media platform as it is. So make sure you look into that. So these are the places where you can buy domain names, and I can see Tim says he uses GoDaddy.com. So and there's lots of different places where you can buy them. So you can go along to these websites. There's tons of different ones, but these are just the ones that I've used, so that's where I'm sharing them. GoDaddy and Low Cost Names is the bottom one. So you can search for your domain name on there, and then you can purchase it. Namecheap, yeah, that's a good one, Glenn. Thanks for sharing that one. You purchase it off there. And it's usually, sometimes you can buy it for a couple of years or more, or you can just buy it for a year. So if you're not so sure you're going to need the website, maybe just buy it for a year. Quite often it's cheap the first year you buy it, and then it will go up after that. So yeah, that's how you buy a domain name. So if you wanted to buy your name, if you wanted Glenn Buttle, you could go on to GoDaddy, type in glennbuttle.com, and it would come up and see if it's available, and then you could buy it and then own it. That doesn't mean it's going to work straight away, and that's what we've been talking about with this hosting. You need to host it, and this isn't a webinar telling you how to do all those things, and it's important that you take training if you're going to set up your own website. This is just a quick overview, just so you get a little bit of an idea. So once you have your domain name, you have some different options in order to build a website. So you can purchase web hosting. So the web hosting is what everyone's been saying in the chat. So Bluehost is an example, HostGator is another place. So it's kind of like it gets that name that you purchased in a position where it can be viewed by others on the web. So it's sort of a host, like a, I think they give an analogy of having a house and you've got the foundations of the house or some such thing like that. And then you connect your web hosting to your domain name, and then you need to create somewhere for the website to sit, like the real estate, like the actual place where people will go along and view your content. So you can use different things for this. Now, WordPress is one option. WordPress has some benefits. So this is a screenshot of what the dashboard looks like in WordPress. So WordPress is what's known as a content management system, so which is CMS for short. So basically it's a place where you can store content, and then that will be shown live on the web. So it's used by millions of websites around the world, and it's free to install and use as your own website. So this is an option which is probably more technical than other options, because there are lots of other options that you can do where you don't have to mess around with having the hosting. It's all built in already, and that's cloud-based software, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're going to go down the WordPress route, definitely take some training on WordPress. There's lots of training courses for the Internet Business School on using WordPress, but it's not ridiculously hard. So don't be put off by the fact that you've got to do some stuff, but it is going to take some time investment to learn how to do it. And if you have a website on WordPress, you can choose different themes. So themes are the way that it looks. So imagine setting out your house and having different curtains and different things, different doors and all those kind of things. So every house is different, like every website is different. But you can choose a theme which will allow you to design your website in a way that works for you and your business. So there are lots of good themes available. And if you are an online coach, one of the first things you could do is just Google good WordPress themes for online coaches. And it will come up with these different ones, and it will set it out in a way that it will set out maybe if you're going to have, so if you are an online coach, maybe you're going to have hourly sessions available, maybe you have group coaching, maybe you need a section which will tell you about you and all the contact details and things. Well, it'll all be set out easily, so you won't need to start moving things around and developing pages, because it will basically be like the outskirts of what you need, and then you can input whatever it is you need to input, or your personalized information. So it will save you a lot of time. So that's one way to find a good theme. Or maybe, and you can see in this example here, I searched it on Google and found 22 best WordPress themes for life coaches. And so then it will give you themes that look that really tie in with what you're trying to do. So it can save you a lot of time, especially when you're starting out. One of the things to remember though is do not hold yourself back by procrastinating over having the best looking website. So Simon's a great example of this. Over the years, I've seen some like just not great websites, but he's got them out there and he's got stuff done with them. So he doesn't faff around trying to make it the most elegantly beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. He just gets it out, and that's really where the money's to be made, where you get out there and take action. So if you are thinking about becoming an online coach, don't just sit trying to think about, oh well, what theme should I use? I'm going to employ a designer, we're going to get a logo done, that takes 15 hours, da, 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 da. Like, you can create logos for yourself using something like Canva, and it's not hard. You can always update it later. And with my community, we've gone through loads of different logos, and as the community has grown, and we've now been going over 2 years, I have tweaked it, and new things have come about, and different branding arises from it. And like the book, this is the book here, that so like we've got different kind of branding, and you know, it's just, this is because the books is developed, and you can just see like all of this didn't come from the moment I set up the community, but it comes as you get in the process of it. So do not hold yourself back from doing things because you think you've got to wait and procrastinate, etc., etc. Just go with the flow. So you can also go to websites like elegantthemes.com or envato.com and find lots of different themes. And then once you found the theme, you will upload that to your WordPress site. And that's kind of the beginnings of setting up a website. That is a very simplified idea, but just so you can get an idea if you don't have a website already. These are the good things about using WordPress. So you can start for free. If you're using WordPress and you're on the webinar now, let me know why you like WordPress, because it'd be good to know from you because you're using it. So just type it in the chat if you are using WordPress, why you like it. There's lots of different themes available. So many WordPress themes and so many WordPress sites, they do not look the same. So it's really, really good from there. Like I said, WordPress is good for SEO purposes. And that means that SEO, if you don't know, stands for search engine optimization. So that means if you are looking for a Chinese restaurant and you put Chinese restaurant in Devon, it will find those keywords you've used. So Chinese restaurant, Devon, it will use those 3 words. And then if those 3 words are on your website, Google will use their crawlers to find out words that will create the best response to your search query. So if your website has those words, it will bring you to the top of the search when someone's looking for it. And WordPress is really, really good for those kind of purposes. So, and that's why it's important that you have content on your website that's relevant to what you're doing. So, because when people start searching, you want your stuff to come up. So let's have a look. Edward says he uses WordPress as he has control over it. And yeah, and that's the brilliant thing about it. You can change it and control it. And yeah, you've got all the capabilities, because sometimes if you're using different types of software, cloud-based software that you don't have control over, and you want something particular, you can't do that because it's not your website. Well, it is your website, but it's not your, you're not ultimately got control over everything. Danny says Elementor on top is very good. Is on top, what's on top? Danny, I don't know about on top. Thank you for sharing though. So Glenn says that so he's using a service, if you don't know about this, called Fiverr, Fiverr.com. So you can outsource your jobs on Fiverr.com. And he says that he can find some good WordPress website builders on there who are only $60. So that's really cheap. So thank you, Glenn, for sharing that. Jim says, thank you, Jim, that WordPress has free or nearly free plugins for almost anything you can think of putting on your website. So a plugin adds extra functionality to a website. So if you want to take people's contact details, there'll be a plugin for that. And if you want to insert a diary system onto your website, there'll be a plugin for that. So there's loads and loads and loads of different free plugins. So the plugins are like extra functionality. And Danny says that there's loads of them, and they're really good for different marketing purposes. So thank you for sharing that, Danny. And Jim shared about plugins as well. So Hazel says that she uses WordPress because it's easy to change the content and it links really well with her themes. So thank you, Hazel. Yeah, everyone's liking the plugins. Edwards likes the plugins as well. And Elementor gives you a different level of control and reduces the complexity. Excellent. So yeah, so if you start looking into it, there are ways to make it easier so it's not as complicated. And there's another one that I used to use called, I cannot remember it now, a website, and it creates landing pages for you really easily. I can't think of the name now. What's that name of it? I don't know. It's probably like Elementor, actually. And now I can't remember it. But so there's lots of good things about WordPress. It's basically the gist of this. However, so I did faff around with WordPress for a long time, quite a few years ago. And I've told you the story before about building the website, which was a genius idea, except it wasn't, about Spirits of Halloween. That website's probably still available now because I've let it go. So my amazing idea was to set up a website to sell Halloween products. The biggest issue with that is it happens once a year and then it's dead. So excuse the pun, Halloween dead. Not funny. Not funny. Yeah, but it was a waste of time, but it did teach me about building on WordPress. And to be honest, it took me too long. That is my only thing about it. So I got into using something called KAJABI. So this is less tech heavy, so you don't have to do any building. And the thing that I like about cloud-based platforms as opposed to WordPress, so WordPress is great, but you need to make sure you're on top of the security, if there's any security breaches, making sure your website doesn't get hacked, all of those things. Something like KAJABI, it's cloud-based and it's dealt with by a whole team of tech developers. So I don't need to ever worry about whether the site is secure or whether I've done updates or whether my plugins are working. And KAJABI has evolved and evolved and evolved over the years. I was a founding member of KAJABI, and it has so much capability now. You can host your podcast on there. You can build landing pages really easily. You can have membership on there. All of my community is built through Kajabi. I house online courses on my Kajabi. So I do like Kajabi for its all-in-one marketing platform. That is a link to, if you want to look at Kajabi, bit.ly.easy website option. I haven't tried the link, I don't know if it still works. But if you want to look at Kajabi, let me have a look, I'll type it in for you. But I do like Kajabi. It is more expensive, but sometimes if you add on all the costs of other things, it doesn't actually work out too much. So if you want autoresponders, so autoresponders are where a series of emails go out without you having to do it because you've done it earlier on. So if someone buys your product, then you'll get a thank you email that goes out, and then maybe another email go back out in 2 days later, and 3 days, that's an autoresponder. I don't know if anyone wants to try that link. I don't know if it works. So I do like Kajabi as an alternative. It's the one that I use for all my websites. So that's what I would say. It has lots of themes inbuilt to it in Kajabi, so you can change your themes easily, and depending on if it's all set up for online coaching and all kinds of different websites. There's lots of different themes on there. It has landing pages. So landing pages are where you go to send people if they want to sign up to your newsletter, or you want to sell a product, or lots of different reasons why you might have a landing page. So my book would have a landing page, so you could go and get details of the book if you went to the landing page. Kajabi also has inbuilt the ability to take payment. So it connects to PayPal and it connects to Stripe. And so you can take payments from those two providers, and it handles all of that. It handles all your emails, and you can build online courses, create a community, host your podcast. So hosting a podcast, for example, that costs money to host a podcast. So if you take out all of those different things that you might be paying money for, yeah, it all adds up. So yes, exactly. So like Glenn said, it's not cheap. I mean, I don't know how much it is now because I joined so long ago. So I have a founders members rate, but it's not cheap. But if you start adding up, so I was paying for lots of different pieces of software. So I had a landing page piece of software. I had MailChimp as for my autoresponders. That's 2 different pieces of software straight away, just thinking of it. And then there'd be the podcast software as well. So if you start thinking about how much you're paying for each of these, then there'd be the hosting fee as well. So there's lots of different things. So it's just an option. So all of these options are just things that are open to trial. Is Wix worth the effort? My sister has built a really great business through Wix. So, and she uses it. So, and her business is successful and her website is successful. So I would say probably yes. I think the thing is, whenever you're on any training, whoever you're listening to, it's always your own experience and what you need to do. So just take bits that resonate, and if they don't resonate, just leave them. Okay, so Kajabi is around, what's that, about £80 a month, $119, £80-90 a month probably. But like I say, if you're paying £20 for landing page software and you're paying hosting and all of those other things, it just depends. You need to work out what you need from that software and whether you can do it in a different option. Personally, I don't want to be doing security updates, and I just love the capability of Kajabi, but it's not for everybody. So make a decision. And if you're doing lots of online courses, you can host them on there, and you don't need to pay for that software either. So have a look. So that is a picture of Kajabi, and that is one of their themes, for example. But like I said, that's my experience. GrooveCell. No one's mentioned GrooveCell. Tell me about GrooveCell. I do know about it slightly, but I don't know. There's so many things out there, and this is the thing, you can get pulled into it. The thing is over the years, I've tried lots of different software, and I like to, some of them stay and then they go away. So there's Groove Funnels as well, isn't there? GrooveCell. I don't know GrooveCell, but it's nice to say the ones like WordPress has been around forever, so you're going to be pretty safe with that. KAJABI now has been around for 10 years, and I think it was around before that as well. So sometimes software comes and goes, and it's best to see, it's best to just look at it and see if it works for what your purposes are, and works for your budget, and works for your time. And if you've got a team of people, or you know someone who can help you and they can do all the tech, then go for it, go with WordPress. But if it's going to cause you extra stress trying to do it, then choose a different solution. That's okay, Andrew. Don't worry about being late. You're here. You're not going to get any black marks. Not here. Not with me. Do you have a website, Andrew? Let me know so we can hear. Let's have a look. So these are some of the pages that you're going to need. You're always going to need a home page. So that's the first page that visitors see when they type in your domain name. So I would say definitely work on keeping it really nice and short, and to the point, so people can see what they need to see straight away. You're in progress getting it done. Okay, well done, Andrew. How are you getting it done? Are you using WordPress? Like Andrew's like, he's turned up late and now I'm asking loads of questions. Get typing. Come on, Andrew. If you're late, you're going to have to WordPress. Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you off the hook now. Then you need an about page. So it's super important to share more about who you are and what you stand for. And have a look at other people's websites and see if any of those resonate. Don't copy other people's, but you can get an idea about, okay, I quite like this website, and then you can translate it into your version of that. Then you're going to have a services page, so what you offer and how people can work with you, make that super simple, and a contact page so people can contact you for more information. You also need a privacy and terms and conditions page, and there's all kinds of things around GDPR and all those kind of things. So you need to know that you covered that. So you can just Google that yeah, find out what you need to put on there. And you can buy time. You can buy, I think it's Simply Docs is a website where you can buy legal documents that you might need for your website, that kind of thing. And there's a woman called, I think her name's Susan Dibble, and she trains businesses around GDPR, and I think she does some good stuff, so she's worth looking into. So on our website, you're going to have two different types of pages. So you're going to have pages which are static, so they're the ones that change infrequently. So that would be something like your About You page, probably wasn't change that infrequently. And then you're going to have the posts. So if you've got a blog on your website, you will regularly be adding new content. So adding new content is really, really good because it keeps your website fresh, and especially if you're linking it to social media. So Google will look at who's on your social media, and they'll use lots of different factors to see whether or not they're going to put you at the top of the search engine. So make sure you're adding fresh content to your website using a blog or changing or linking to your social media, etc., etc. If you have any questions, just ask them in the box. So when you're thinking about a web presence, you are going to need to think about your branding as well, because branding is a really important thing to build trust and consistency. So this is why brands put so much money into building up their brands, because we feel safer if it's a brand we know as opposed to one that we haven't come across. And so there's something that comes along with that branding, which means that it's their values as a brand. Or you think if it's this type of headphones, so for example, I've got these headphones that I've had for quite a long time now, but I saw some on the train with them yesterday, and they're Bose ones, and it's upside down that way. They're Bose ones, and Bose is, you know, traditionally going to give you good sound and is you know, a good headphone to have. And then there's other ones, I think there's Beats, I think, and I just remember they got a kind of trendiness around their brand, but actually were they very good as headphones? I don't think they were actually, which is quite interesting. So consistency is important to build trust. So you might want to buy some Bose earphones and a Bose speaker as opposed to Tesco's own brand of headphones, because you wouldn't put Tesco as the leader in sound. So it is important that you keep consistent and you build brand awareness by using maybe consistent colouring, those kind of things. Now, I don't want you to get too involved. It depends where you are in your business. It doesn't mean you can't create a great business without a brand. So my community has turned into a really solid and connected, and it's become something which I didn't really realize it was going to become, and it creates a lot of impact for the people involved with it. However, we started and there was no brand. We just started, and as the process went on, like I said, I changed things as we moved. And so success doesn't just go down to the brand, it's just one of those extra add-ons. So you can choose a color scheme and a logo, which can help with that. You don't necessarily have to overthink it. If you're in a big business and you've got the budget and you've got all these things, then yes. But if you're like many of the people here just getting started, don't worry too much about it. So Catherine, thank you, said Groove is an all-in-one platform which does membership sites, emails, e-commerce, web pages, and you can start for free. There you go. There you go. That's probably an affiliate link of Catherine's if you want to help Catherine out. And Dion says, would a one-page website contain the same elements as the various parts and pages you mentioned? So would a one-page website have a blog page on? Is that what you mean? I'm not quite sure what. So a one-page website, I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean, Dion. So if you just got one, so yeah, one page, I'm not quite sure. Explain a bit more what you mean, Dion. I mean, you can add whatever you want onto your one page, but if you had like a humongous one-page website with loads and loads of stuff on, or if you're just talking about creating one landing page, I'm not really sure what you're saying, so let me know. Would a landing page contain the same elements as the various parts? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. So a landing page is a page where normally you send people there to take some kind of action, like sign up to a list or register for an event, that kind of thing. A website will have various pages that are static. So it will say about who you are, what your services are, an about me page, those kind of things. So the landing page would be much more, it could change and could be much more quickly put together. But mainly the website will host all the different pages that you need to show your and build on your online presence. I don't know if that answers it. So this, I don't know if anyone's used this before. This is coolers.co, which is a really great way to find a color scheme for your website. So you can go on there and then it will generate all these different color schemes. And then if you like the yellow more, you can lock that yellow and then it will start flashing around, and then choose some other colors that will complement that yellow. So it's quite a good website to use to generate color schemes. You can use that for free. So that is definitely something you can do if you are looking at getting a new color scheme. And these are ways to get a logo. So you can go to 99designs.co.uk and commission a logo. Anyone use 99 Designs? So basically you get a whole, the designers will, a few designers will submit what they think answers your brief. So you have to say, I'd like this kind of logo, da, 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 da. And then the designers can submit what they'd like to submit, and then you get to choose which one you like the most. So that's quite cool. And I think you can change how many people are involved depending on how much you pay. So if you want 10 people to submit designs and it's one cost, or if you want 5, it's a different cost. I haven't been on it for a while, but 99 Designs is one way. If you want to commission a logo, that is one way. Or you could design your own. So canva.com is a super easy way. Who uses Canva? Let me know in the chat if you use Canva. Canva is free for the most part. You can have pro versions if you want to do things like take away a background, for example, of a photo. If you've got the paid version, then you can use that. Yeah, Canva. Tim uses Canva. Danny uses Canva. Yeah, it is brilliant, isn't it? Canva's good. Has anyone ever done any training on Canva? I always feel like there's more capability. It's a little bit like having a Mac or having an iPhone, it does so much more than you think it can do. And I just always do the basics on it. So yeah, Canva's so good, isn't it? I love it. I made my new logo on Canva in about 2 minutes. Seriously. Just have to see it. I'll show you my new logo. Seriously. I mean, I like it. Yeah, let's see if I can show it you now. Who's made a logo on Canva before? Let me know. We'll see if we can compare that. So, oh, there's some of it. Actually, this is just a screenshot of this is me and my Canva. There's one little, okay, look, see? I can't leave it, see? And you can take the black out, you see? So it's just a green one now. Made on Canva, 5 minutes. Not that I'm doing down logo people, because logo people are awesome, and design people and all the rest of it. But if you haven't got the budget, thank you, Danny. If you haven't got the budget, just get something done rather than do nothing, because sometimes we get so stuck. Yeah, Fiverr can make logos. Get logos all over. I'm not doing down you if you're in branding, don't get me wrong, but you need to get started. That's the best way to get action. You design mugs with it, do you, Tim? Oh, is that a business idea? That's a good idea. Yeah, Canva at School on YouTube, and Sally Sparkles, I think her name is, does all things Canva. Oh, isn't that the best name? Sally Sparkles. I want to be called Sally Sparkles. Well, not Sally Sparkles. I need to be something that rhymes with Claire. Claire cares. It's not as good as Sparkles, though, is it? Claire Sparkles. Right. I digress. Nigel Weimer's course. Was he talking about Canva? I feel like I know his name, but I don't know it. No, I don't know. Can be a brief of your thoughts for a designer to work towards. I don't know quite the context of that, but yeah, brief your thoughts, and then first idea. I mean, it's so hard, Danny. I can't keep up with the chat. I don't know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that is true, Jim, because Canva's really good to start with, and you don't need to go pro unless you really want to get into design as part of your business, which is so true, because I didn't use pro for ages and ages, and then for some reason I started using pro. And you get some extra capability for using pro, and you can say, for example, if you've got a branding palette, you can upload that into your Canva. So that's another thing you can do if you've got pro, so it's easier. Print on demand. Oh, really? Oh, there you go. That's why I know his name. Oh, Nigel. Yeah. I'm out of the loop, aren't I? He's part of the team, and Claire doesn't remember his name, so that is not unusual. So think about, have you started to build relationships with your audience? So you're creating this website, but you need to create credibility and trust, because it's unlikely you're going to get cold signups as well, because people want to get to know you, and that's what the whole thing is about branding. It's not that difficult. It's just the concept of put yourself in the hands of or in the place of someone you want to do business with. So how do you do business is what I'm trying to say. So why would you choose to work with a personal trainer? Would you just pick someone out of the blue, or would you have started following them, for example, for a while on Facebook, and then you start, or on Instagram, and then you start seeing their posts, and then maybe someone shares, oh, I had these great results with this personal trainer, or maybe you speak to your friend, and they say, oh, I've just got these really great results using this personal trainer. It's all about building relationships. So you need to go from being someone who's got something to sell or a service, whatever it is you want to do in your business, to someone who's building relationships with people who will then be open to doing business with you. So that's really, really important. And I think probably, Dee's going to talk about that with LinkedIn. It is a lot about building relationships. So there's different ways to build trust and relationships. So the first thing is a professional website, because a website presence makes you look like you're real. And I remember when I was doing and running Daniel Priestley's community and around his entrepreneurial circle, I remember that they used to talk a lot about having a brochure. And Daniel told me the story once about he went to pitch this idea to a corporate in London, and he just had the idea, but he created a brochure around it. And because he had this brochure, he was able to hand the brochure over to the people sitting around this boardroom, and they could see what his concept was, because it was 3D. It'd gone from in his head to 3D. Now, there wasn't a whole business around that. It was just a concept. However, by putting it into a brochure, it then makes it feel more real. And so like a professional website, it gives you some kind of stake, some kind of 3D visual for people to understand what your ideas are, and so that they can then conceptualize what you want to do for them. So that's why it's important. And once you start that, someone thinking about that in their head about, okay, I see what they're doing, they must have got something behind them, because they wouldn't have a website if they were not real. Then they will look at your social media presence. So I was looking for somewhere to eat yesterday, and I went on to TripAdvisor and I started reading the reviews. And because of the reviews, I decided I wouldn't go to this particular place purely on that. So it's so important what you do online and how you build the relationships over time. So other things that you can do are, if you're interviewed, so I'm being interviewed on other people's podcasts quite a few times, which raises your own profile, but also promotes you to their network. So that's another example of how you can build trust, and how, if you're getting started, you can do that with people who are already established, because then if they believe in you and highlight you, people are more likely to trust you because you're coming from a referral. So that's a really good way to do it. That's why things like joint partnerships are super good if you're starting out, because then you can elevate somebody else's position, or elevate your own position, because somebody else is already established. And then there's things like sending out a newsletter. So if you do this regularly, I send out 2 newsletters a week, one to my community, and one I've been doing for 23 weeks now on LinkedIn. And I say 23 weeks because I actually can't believe I'm at 23 weeks. And I just make sure it goes out every Friday. I write the newsletter, and the funny thing is people read it, but you have no idea. So a few weeks ago, I went to an event, an in-person event locally to where I am, and I don't really build a circle of people around me locally. My stuff's generally London-based or globally. And someone said, "Hi, you're Claire, aren't you?" I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Yeah, you just done the book on a Friday." And he knew all about me. And he's been reading my newsletters. And he seriously knew so much about me, which is actually quite freaky, but it shows that it actually works, and you don't know that it's working. Somebody else says, "Oh, I love your content." I was like, "Which content?" And they're reading my newsletter every single week. So yeah, do not discount it. Even if you don't think you're getting results, you probably are. So look at your website. Do you have an opt-in? So an opt-in is where people can opt in to receive something from you. And this is the beginning of building relationships. So you might have a report. So that would be a more chunky document reporting on something in your sector or something that you know about. You could have a checklist. So if you're doing a podcast, if you're a podcast expert, you might have 10 things to check off before you start or launch a podcast. And someone might, "Oh, it'd be interesting to see if I've got all those things checked off." So you could have a checklist. You might have a video course. You might have resources. So you might have the best social media books if you're a social media expert, like my top 5 social media books of 2022 or something like that. Or you might offer a free session, something like that. So these are like tiny things that start to build up rapport and a relationship. So think about real life, how you build relationships, and then translate it to online. So how do you build relationships? So you might chat to someone, you might bump into them at a networking event. And then if you're building rapport with them, or you feel like your values are aligned, you might say, or you would have said, "Oh, should we have a coffee?" It's like an expression, isn't it? Even if you don't like coffee, you just say, "Let's go for a coffee." So then you go for a coffee, and then you get chatting over there, and then something might come from there. And sometimes it doesn't come from there, but that's one of the small things you do to build rapport. So instead of asking for a coffee, because it's online, you might send them a checklist, and they read the checklist. And then you could have, like we were talking about earlier, auto responders. So once the checklist goes out to them, they download it. Maybe 3 days later, you send another email out automatically, and it says, how do you get on with the checklist? Have you got everything? Have you done? I find that most people haven't done 0.5. And they're like, oh no, I haven't done 0.5. And then maybe there's an opportunity there for them to learn more about your business or how you can help them do 0.5, just an example. So video is a really good way to build rapport on a website, because it's easier to connect with people when you see their faces. If you've got professional video, so I had professional video done, and I repurposed it for social media as well. So there's lots of ways you can repurpose video if you have it already, and people can get to know you a bit better if they see your face. You want to use social proof as much as possible. Like I was saying about the restaurant, like I was just reading what other people wrote about it. So the best and easiest way to do this is through testimonials. Get people to write testimonials for you, and say how they found your services. That's a really, really good way to get social proof. And if you're just starting out, you can start off by giving, ask clients, so I'll do this for free if you'll give me a testimonial. Are you happy to do that? And it's got to be an honest testimonial, but that's a way to get started if you don't have anybody, and you're just starting out and you haven't got anybody else who's actually worked with you. Do it for free. Video testimonials, again, even better, because you can see someone talking, and you want to have their photo and their business name and website address, so you can get a link, so it's not just a random person. So Edward says, video is the biggest sales channel with YouTube leading the way. What do you think will come after this? What do I think? I think my honest opinion is that the future is more connected relationships, which are facilitated through building community. So by community, essentially what I mean is it's building deep relationships. So whether that's internally in a company where people get to know each other more and are understanding of and more empathetic. I think we need a different type of leadership rather than top-down leadership. I think we need more connected conversations where people can feel seen and heard. And I think ultimately you can keep, and outside of the business and you're trying to get new customers, you can go on Amazon and find the cheapest deal, but people are more interested in purpose, and they're more interested in the causes that are important to them, and working with people who have got aligned values, all of those things. So I think that video is important, but as a way, and I think, but it's a way to connect at deeper levels. So I think deeper connection, deeper conversations, like my community has turned into something where people come along and they don't want to leave because they love it so much, because they're having open and authentic conversations. And I think we just need that for, you know, my community works for the people it's for. It's not for everybody, but you will have a community that will suit your needs and your alignment. And it's about finding your people is what I honestly, truly think. And if you are able to connect people who've got shared values, it's like, it's more intimate and it's more connecting. And I think we need that. I think we're in the middle of a loneliness pandemic. I think, you know, we're probably even more disconnected after COVID because we're spending more time at home. I definitely think that's the way forward. Seriously, that is my jam. So we're going to move on to D in a minute. I'm just going to finish up and just like, these are the takeaways from today. Our website and a brand shows potential customers. You're serious and professional. That is what I was talking about. It's good to have a website and have a really strong web presence, because it shows that you are really serious. It's good for your mindset to show it's a serious business. It's not a hobby. It's a great way to generate leads. And it gives, and all these things, like when you share content, it gives value out there, and not everybody will become your client, but you are adding and making an impact in the world. And the people who don't work with you might recommend you to somebody else. So it's really, really important that you do create value, even for those people who don't work with you, because ultimately it will come back to you in different ways, is my belief. And it's a really great way to, if a website will link you and between all your social media platforms. Something I learned was I started creating different brands early on, and then realized I was evolving too quick for my brand. And I wish I'd just done it under my name to start with, because I think that's a really good way, because you can grow and change, and your name won't change. So that's a really good way to do it. So Edward says, trust is a value that has been around since the dawn of time. Video, social media are just elevated tools and vehicles. I'm not totally sure, because it's hard to interpret exactly what you mean from the typing. Trust is a value, trust is a value that's been around since the dawn of time. Yeah, but are people feeling like they can trust the organizations and the people around them? Quite often they're not. No. Yes, trust is ultimately what we want, and we want to trust the people we do business with. But you look at these massive corporations, people don't trust these massive corporations, do they? Ultimately, depends how deep you get into it. Yeah, so yeah, trust. Basically what you're saying is humans have fundamental needs, and safety is one of those fundamental needs. So if you look into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is like one of the first things we need. That's why we need to feel secure, and that's why we don't speak up in a business environment, because we think that if we speak up we might lose our job, and then we might lose our home, etc., etc. So we keep quiet. And so developing trust within an organization, for example, where it's safe to have a conversation, safe environments to have conversations, build trust. It's hard to talk about it because I can't quite get the context of your comment, but yeah, trust is important in business. So yeah, so hopefully you will improve your website presence after today's presentation, or hopefully it just sparks something off in your head. And yes, yeah, Edward says, people buy from people they like and trust is a key component, definitely. And I think there was a time when the internet launched where we actually thought, oh, this is brilliant, we can get things for the cheapest price, but there's only so cheap you can go, and then lots of people are selling at the same price. So then we're looking for other things that differentiate how we buy our service, or how we buy goods. So if you think about Patagonia as a brand, it makes a difference in the world, and people buy Patagonia to support that brand, or they deal with the Body Shop because they don't want cruelty to animals or whatever. So yeah, and that's the thing, it's fundamental, and these things are really important. So that brings us to the end of my presentation.